Hello everyone, and welcome to this quick introduction to TriggerMesh Bridges. I just want to explain to you what we mean by a bridge and an application flow. So here I am on cloud.triggermesh.io or SaaS. I'm going to log in and pick my favorite identity provider, here GitHub. Of course, you may have chosen to create an account with an email and password, but here I log in with GitHub. And as soon as I log in, I'm presented with our catalog of application flows, or what we call our catalog of bridges. So what we're doing here is that we're creating a bridge between applications that are the source of events and applications that are the targets of events, that receive those events and perform some actions. So we're creating a bridge between an application that's the as I said, emitting events, and another application that receiving those events. And some people call that an application flow, right? It's a flow of events, or it's a flow of data between one application to another. So what we see in this catalog of bridges is that we see a few sample flows. We see a flow from Gitlab to AWS Lambda. We see a flow from Zendesk that goes through AWS Comprehend and then back to Zendesk to do sentiment analysis. We see a flow that goes from Slack to Confluent. For example, if you want to send all your Slack conversation to your Kafka cluster, or as a use case, if you're looking into log aggregation, you can also build a flow, and here you see a flow between Azure Activity logs and an on-premises Splunk deployment. All right. So this catalog of bridges represents pre-built application flows available through the TriggerMesh SaaS. If you want to use one of them, you just click on the card and you see a short description here for the Zendesk sentiment analysis and here for the Gitlab to AWS Lambda. And if you want to use one of those bridges, you just click on Use Template and you're presented with our bridge editor. It is evolving extremely quickly because we are actively developing this bridge editor. The important bit when you get to this bridge editor and you launch one of our templates is that you'll see some blocks that will have a little pulse going on. When there is a pulse, it means that you need to configure something. So here, when I click on this GitLab source, I see that in red I need to specify a project URL for my GitLab repo, and I need to create a secret so that TriggerMesh can talk to GitLab. So here I can browse through the secret and I find my GitLab secret, for example. All right. So remember, when you use one of the templates, you still need to configure a little bit some of those bridges. Why do we call them bridges? Because if I click here on an existing bridge, you see our little table view. Here I have a bridge that's running. You see all the blocks are green and deployed in TriggerMesh. Actually, those bridges, those application flows are represented by a manifest. Okay, a manifest in YAML, and you'll see that it follows an OpenAPI schema if you're familiar with it. But you'll see specifically that the kind of this object is a bridge. So a bridge at TriggerMesh is the actual API object that we use to describe the application flow, right? That's why we call them bridges. All right. So I hope that makes sense and that gives you a little bit more clarity on what we're doing with those bridges, what they are. They're simply application flows, and you have this catalog here of pre-built flows that you can instantiate, or you can create a new bridge from scratch. Here I have the visual editor, which is blank, and then I could go and create add a source and say, hey, my events are going to be emitted by one of those sources, and then I would specify a target and say, hey, the targets are Confluent, Twilio, Zendesk, and AWS Event Bridge. All right. Well, thank you very much and see you around.